lifelike baby from the internet because I want to have kids soon. I want to have a baby soon and I want to practice. So this is the most lifelike baby you can get on the internet. It's supposed to do all the things that the babies do. Oh, he's so cute. You guys look. Oh, he's really sweet.
Do you want his clothes on him?
No, look. Just look at him. Shh. Be quiet, because he's sleeping. Shh.
His eyes are open.
Oh, he's precious. Look at how lifelike he is.
Baby Dave.
Creepy stuff that's happened to you lot part 2. This happened about 3 years ago. I woke up about 7 AM for school as normal and got on with the everyday routine: brush hair, get dressed and eat breakfast. When I was done, I got in the car and went to school. When I got there, everyone was acting like I was invisible. When the teacher shouted my name in the register, I responded and she marked me down as absent. I went to call my dad because I was upset, but I realised I didn't have my phone. This went on for the whole day. At the end of the day, I got in the car and went home. I went to my room to go and lie on my bed when I saw myself in my bed. I screamed and woke up in my bed crying, with my dad sitting next to me saying she's finally awake. I couldn't wake up, and when I asked what time it was, he said it was 4 PM and that I'd missed a whole day of school because I was in a sleep coma. My dad made that term up. But when I went to school as normal the next day, I remembered all the lessons and everything from the day before. I believe that I had an out-of-body experience, but I can't be sure.
Headlights. Yeah. Your mom is a fucking clown, bro!
What the hell? Drive! What is he doing here? What is he
Go,
doing
bro,
here?
go!
No, what is he doing,
Go!
bro?
Go, bro, go!
Steven, it is 1:03 a.m. Please don't do this. This is not the time, sir. Boo. No, nothing? You're scaring me.
Let this be a reminder that there really are monsters out there. In 2007, a woman living right near a prison in California got home late one night and went right to bed. Around midnight, she woke up to footsteps on her first floor, assumed it was her roommate, so she goes downstairs to say hi. She yells out to her roommate, who doesn't say anything, and then in walks this giant man who she doesn't recognize. She runs upstairs, jumps in her closet into the crawl space, and hides. As she's helplessly tucked away in this little crawl space, trying not to make any sound, all she hears is this giant man sprinting around her house, running into walls, flipping furniture, and screaming in frustration because he can't find her. Finally, after several hours, she slowly opens the crawl space back up, crawls out, and gets her phone off the nightstand and calls police. As she's telling the police her story, she describes the person who had broken in, and they stop her and say, "Ma'am, go back in the crawl space and stay there. We'll be there as soon as we can." It turned out a 6'11" convicted murderer had escaped the prison and was still on the loose.
Things you miss in this movie which somehow make it even creepier. Caroline meeting these 3 ghosts was actually foreshadowed. When Caroline has dinner with her other parents, we see the silhouettes of the kids whose soul she's eaten hanging on the wall. When lightning strikes earlier in the movie, the bolt foreshadows the other mother's hand. The song that the other father sings to Caroline is a warning of what is about to happen. Lyrics include "She's a doll, button in the eyes, and her eyes will be on Coraline." The key that Caroline uses to open the door into the other world has a button on it. Aside from the father's song, all the other songs are sung in gibberish. The other mother can be seen humming them throughout the movie. These lyrics make the movie seem real but not quite right, just like the other world. Mr. Babinski's medal shows that he helped with the cleanup of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. The radiation could explain his blue skin.
This is why you should never talk to strangers. In the early 2000s, a young girl was waiting outside her friend's house peeling the bark off of a tree when a strange man approaches her. As he got closer, she could see that he was grinning ear to ear and his face was white as a ghost. He walks right up to her and pinches her on the arm and says, "How would you like it if I peeled your skin off?" Just then, her friend's mom yells for her to come inside, and the man walks away. It would be years before the girl's mother would finally tell her who this man really was. Her friend's mom had seen the man pinch her on the arm and had immediately called the police, who quickly rounded this guy up. Plastered all across the inside of his van were dozens of pictures of this girl. But what they found in his storage locker is straight out of a nightmare. In the locker was a chair with hand and arm restraints. Next to it was an anatomy book and hundreds of torture tools. Yes, the picture at the end is real. In 1876, a woman from a very prominent family in Paris goes missing. After years go by and no one has a clue what happened to this woman, friends and family ultimately mourn her death and move on. 25 years later, and this anonymous letter shows up on the Attorney General's desk, claiming that the missing woman's family had a secret. Intrigued by the letter, the police go to the family's home, show it to them, and ask to search the property, to which they say, go for it. They search, they don't find anything, but on the way out, they notice something very peculiar. At the end of some stairs was a door that was padlocked shut. When the family refused to open it, the police break it down and make a horrifying discovery. Cowering on a rotten straw mattress in a pitch black room was the missing woman, now 50 years old and extremely malnourished. Her mother had imprisoned her there after they had fought over her boyfriend, and she had not seen sunlight or another human being in 25 years.
This is why you should never stay awake past 3 a.m. A woman in her early 20s was away from home on a business trip. The night before she was supposed to board her plane, she had trouble sleeping and had this intense fear that someone was staring at her in her room. She was up until 3. Tossing and turning until she started to hear whispers. It was a deep voice repeating the words, "I'm coming to get you, I'm coming to get you." But she ignored it and eventually fell asleep. After her plane landed, she was exhausted but drove home anyway. About 30 minutes into her drive, she started hearing the same whispers from the previous night, but she thought it was because she was sleep deprived, so she kept driving. She was almost home when she began to feel sick. Her eyes were watering, her nose was running, and she let out a large sneeze. "Bless you," said the same deep, eerie voice. She quickly pulled into her driveway, hugged her husband, and sat down to tell him what was going on. When this happened.
I can still hear that voice.
This is why you should always lock your doors. A class was playing a game of Kahoot when they heard a voice on the intercom say, "This is not a drill, go into lockdown." The students huddled in the back of the classroom and then the power went off. Minutes later, the students heard the sound of a man screaming at the top of his lungs, running down the hallway. The lunatic man started banging on the lockers and his screams gradually got louder. He then started banging on the classroom window, yelling, "Open up." He eventually left, and 10 minutes later, a voice on the intercom said, a mentally ill person had entered the school and attacked the lady at the front desk. The staff did a sweep of the school and still couldn't find him, so they locked the doors and resumed class. Later that night, one of the janitors went into the utility closet when this happened.
Remember, your Amazon Alexa is always listening. In 2018, a girl named Alexa came home to her apartment to find her creepy stalker landlord in her kitchen. She screams and threatens to call the cops, and he just smiles and says, "I was just checking in on you," and leaves. Feeling totally sketched out, she spends the next few hours down the hall in her friend's apartment before finally going back to her room to go to bed. That night, she woke up to her Amazon Alexa responding to someone in the room. It said, "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did you say I'm watching you?" The girl instantly turns on her lights and looks around, but no one's there. So she unplugs Alexa and is about to go back to sleep when she hears what sounds like a man grunting in her closet. As she's staring at her closet, her Alexa turns back on.